Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the League of Europe YouTube channel for round 15 of Season 4 of Division 3. My name is Aidan Carter, otherwise known as Carmentus. I'll be taking you through Division 3 proceedings, and joining me in the commentary box once again this week is Mr. Excel Dylan. Now, Excel Dylan, how are you doing, mate? I'm doing very well, thank you. Looking forward to another good D3 race. Hopefully, we had a cracking race again last time out in Japan, and we've had a lot of cracking races so far this season. So, coming to USA, a track famous for good overtaking opportunities, then I'm expecting some good things tonight. What about yourself? Yeah, I'm interested as well. I took part in a couple of practice sessions yesterday and tried out that soft medium strategy. It is definitely a good option to do, but those soft tyres, like you say, by the time you get to about lap 4, the soft tyre pace drop off around this track is absolutely enormous, which means that the undercut around this track as well can be very powerful. So look out for that here at USA. So just going to run you through the championship standings before we get ready for qualifying full. After another great race last time out from Yorno, another great strategy call from him to pit early and undercut the people around him, he went on to win the race last time out in Japan. That's his, I believe, his 4th race victory of the season. That is his 4th race victory of the season, and that is his 9th podium, I believe, out of 14 races, which is an incredible run of form he's had. He now leads the championship by quite a ways. He's got 36-point lead in the championship now over J. Cole, who runs second, who you have to say has really got to perform in these last few rounds to put himself back in championship battle. He got a little bit stuck really behind Caesar last time out when obviously Caesar went on to that hard tyre at the end of the race. Didn't work out for him, but he held J. Cole back really for the entirety of that second half of that race. Caesar runs third in the championship now in the AlphaTauri on 129 points. Behind him is TDB. He was the closest challenger to Yorno last time out. He finished second place. He's now up to 4th in the championship on 105 points, only 2 points ahead of B Morgan. Old School down to 6th. He's yet to really bounce back after a really tough run of performances really from Great Britain onwards. He's not scored more than 5 points in one round. After Old School, White Y 7th, and then it's P's 8th, Bree 9th, and Eduk rounds off the top 10. That is your top 10 in the championship standings so far. And looking at the championship standings we've had, it has been, so recently, it has really been swinging towards Yorno's way, as a lot of people are leaving the session, unfortunately. So, looks like we might have a lobby glitch. Ah. Yeah, you really can't count Yorno out of any race, especially, I think the key example of that was the first round of the season, really, wasn't it? Where he qualified right near the front of the field. I think he qualified 3rd or 4th, just by memory or something like that. And he fell down to the back of the field after contact, I think, on the opening lap of the race, and then worked his way pretty much from the back of the grid to end up winning the race. So he's had so many rounds really like that this season, where he's had to come back from some some really horrible situations. And in the rounds he's finished so far this season, I'm just going to count them up now. I believe it is 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think it's 11 times out of 14 races that he has finished. No, it's 12 times. It's 10 times out of 14. There we go. 10 times out of 14 races that he has finished inside the top 4 in a race, which is incredible consistency, isn't it? Mm. Yeah, it really is. And looking at the championship standings as well, every time that he's finished low or scored low points, the same race, J. Cole also scored low points. So J. Cole hasn't really been able to capitalise on those poor rounds from Yorno. Apart from Canada, they didn't really outscore each other by much in those rounds. So that's one thing that's really happened this season. Just to mention on Caesar as well, currently third in the championship. I think the last time out was only the fourth time this season where he's finished a race and not been actually only the third time this season where he's finished a race and not been second. He's had incredible consistency this season as well, but missing a few rounds out in the middle of the season and just not having that extra 1% to win a race might have cost him really a run at the championship, mightn't it? Mm. Yeah, I fully agree with you on that one as well. Just looking at his championship, he hadn't scored. Well, he only scored 3 times in the first 7 rounds of the season, and none of those finishes were inside the top 5. Austria, he finished 4th. That was his best result of the season to that point. And then from there, every race he's finished on the podium. He DNF'd from Belgium and Singapore. Singapore, you can definitely say, wasn't his fault, that incident that he had in Singapore. Belgium, I think, was just caught out by the wet weather. But other than that, he's finished on the podium every time. And looking into next season maybe as well, because we've only got a few rounds to go in this one, it's absolutely flown by. Looking into next season, you've got to say, if TDB does stay in Division 3, which at the moment I think it might be likely that he gets moved up to Division 2, but if he stays in Division 3, you've got to say he's going to be the favourite for next season. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to Division 3. Division 3 next season. It is going to be a brilliant season, I can imagine. Also, looking at the other people that are in the lobby today, we've obviously got pretty much everyone here that have raced before already. We're looking at, though, Major Falcon and Break FM. They obviously had their first rounds last time out. Major Falcon was running inside the top 10. You have to say was very unlucky after contact with, I believe, Chill midway through the race. Chill went on a bit of a rampage and took both Red Bulls out on the same lap, but Major Falcon was unfortunately part of that. But before that, he had really strong pace in Japan, and looking to USA in track profile is relatively similar to Japan, so you've got to say that he could be a factor again today. Yeah, that would be brilliant stuff. Just one thing I want to make sure though, Dylan, I've just seen a couple messages in chat just to say that they can't hear you unfortunately on stream. So I don't know if you're streaming your voice or not. If you're able to stream your voice, um, just have to double check see if that's working for you. I'll double check in a sec as well, see if I've got party streaming on.
I think it should work right now.
Well, fingers crossed everyone can hear you then. So that last 10 minutes or so of us chatting about the whole season is just going to be me chatting to myself. So that's going to be a fun listen back. Hopefully if anyone can let us know in the chat whether they can hear Dylan. Unbelievable. The professionalism of this man, unbelievable. Can't believe it. But yeah, actually going now into qualifying and going into USA, you've obviously said that Break FM's been practicing a lot this week, it seems. We've seen a lot of people be fast around this track. You would expect qualifying to be probably in the mid-29s to be pole position. Who do you think is going to be the one to look out for today?
You see, I can... wet qualifying.
Yeah.
This is really interesting. This can spice things up, definitely. And that being said, it's always really difficult to call the top 3 for qualifying. You always have incredible drivers fighting it out. We know Peter is always really quick in qualifying. TDB, Old School, J. Cole, Yorno, Caesar. all of them are really quick in qualifying. But with it being wet weather, and I know someone in this lobby really likes wet weather, and that is Old School 3000. So I think it's going to be him on pole to me. I'm going to give him pole because I know he loves wet weather, and yeah, I think he'll excel on that. J. Cole, I'll give him P2, and I think Yorno will get P3. I think that's a fair top 3 prediction. What about yours?
I'm going to agree with you on Old School on pole position. I think, like you say, he has enjoyed the wet weather. I can remember notably D2 last season at Canada where we had that wet qualifying session. He put it on pole position in that session, and yeah, he loves the wet conditions. I think along with him, YHYY is another one to look out for in the wet conditions. He adores these conditions. Remember back to D2 last season as well in Russia, where he went on, with a little bit of luck, he went on to win that race by a country mile with the rain at the end of the session. And then third on the grid, I'm probably going to put J. Cole third on the grid in the Racing Point. His qualifying form has definitely been better than Yorno's recently, but you have to say that Yorno's race smarts and his strategies have been what has been putting him ahead in the championship so far. And I can immediately eat my words about lap times being in the 29s for qualifying, because as soon as I said that, it was a wet qualifying. So that's one thing that is something. Don't take my word on that one. We're not going to be in the 29s in the wet conditions. If someone is, then they've probably hacked the game. But the first person to be out on the track is Break FN, and this is one thing that a lot of people struggle now with around this track as well. Obviously 21 corners in total, I believe, around this track to negotiate. In the wet weather, this track is incredibly difficult in the wet, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. You have a lot of big traction zones as well, and especially with the high-speed corners, that's where I usually struggle in the wet weather, keeping the car on track, because in the S section it can be difficult with a lot of high-speed corners, and we have to change directions really quickly. So it's going to be really interesting to see who can set up a clean lap time, because that will be really important. I think if you get a clean lap time in, you'll definitely have a decent qualifying position.
Yeah, look out for that. Trying to keep it on the road is the most important thing. We're going to ride on board though with Break FN. He's going to be the first person to set a lap in qualifying, so he heads up the hill into turn 1. Brakes fairly early for the corner, as you would expect. First qualifying lap in the wet conditions. It's not going to be up to full pace, but looks like these might be the driest conditions of the session, so he might want to get his best one in as early as possible. Down through 2 and then into the S section, obviously based off of the Maggotts and Beckett section. And as you said, in the high speed, change of direction for Break FN. Lost the rear of the car midway through the S, so he's already backed out of his lap. So we're now riding on board with Harry Noir, who just jumped on board with him at the same corner, almost did exactly the same thing as Break FN, struggling for grip. A 28.6 in the first sector. That is immediately beaten by the AlphaTauri of Peter behind him on the road, I believe, as now Harry Noir comes through the second sector. The continuation really of the S section. Now we go into the more slow speed technical part of the lap. We've got the back straight first through to the hairpin of turn 11 and onto the back straight, and then from there it's a lot of slow speed corners. So down this about 1.1 kilometre back straight, rises over the hill. Easy overtaking opportunity. This one is down into turn 12. This track is very wide. That's another thing to remember for the race. There is a lot of room for overtaking at this circuit. Down into the braking zone for turn 12, brake about 100 metres. You can take a lot of curb on the inside of this corner, but in the wet conditions, Harry Noir decides to stay away from the inside and the outside curb. Now into the final sector, turn 13 and 14, basically a double apex one corner, and then into 15 and 16, pretty much the same thing. It's very easy to lock up an inside front into turn 16 through 15, and Harry Noir runs a little bit wide off the apex, and now into this triple apex right-hander base off of the famous turn 8 in Turkey. This one's off camber though, instead of on camber, and you can tell in the wet conditions it's incredibly difficult to get the car turned in. He runs out wide, and now through turn 19 and into turn 20, the final corner, the hairpin, before a short run to the line. It's been a bit of a messy lap, but you would expect that in these conditions. Harry Noir comes out of the final corner and crosses the line on a 46.8. Behind him on the road though, Peter's going to beat him by 0.8 of a second, and Old School I believe crossed the line without, oh no, that was TDB, sorry, that crossed the line with an invalidated time. B Morgan now crosses the line on a 54.2. That's a brilliant lap time from B Morgan. Jewel though beats that by 0.1 of a second. It is a 54.1 and immediately crashes across the line. Break FN's going for another run on the same set of tyres. We've got Yorno now coming to the line. He does a 43.7. What a lap from Yorno. 1.4 seconds quicker than anyone else on the circuit. That's an incredible lap time from our championship leader. Can anyone get near that? We've got one of the Renaults to the line. That's Brie. He goes third on a 45.1. We've now got the Mercedes of Luke coming round the final corner. Where can he put his Mercedes? One of the Ferraris has spun in the final part of the lap. Luke goes to P5 on a 45.8. Here comes Old School, tip for pole position, crosses the line, invalidated time, so he's not going to improve on 14th. J. Cole now goes second on a 44.9, so our championship 1-2, our first and second on the grid. But what a lap from Jorno. That is by far the qualifying lap of the season.
That is an incredible lap right out of the gates, and that, I'm really shocked because that is an incredible lap time in the wets. And yeah, especially with it basically being a banker lap time for him, that is incredible. And I expect him to improve later on in the session when conditions improve and the track gets a little bit grippier. But wow, I'm really shocked, to be honest. 1.2 seconds already, and that is just incredible from Jorno. He's setting an incredible. He's making a point to everyone in this lobby right now.
Harry Noir, meanwhile, coming around. A lot of people will be fueled for multiple runs on the same tyre. That's how these inter-tyres work. Here comes Harry Noir around the final corner to improve on his P10 slot and go a fifth. 1.7 second improvement he found on his second lap. As across the line behind him, I believe that was TDB that crossed the line behind him and went P7 on a 45.4. He's not liking these wet conditions so far. B. Morgan crosses the line for the second time, doesn't improve on his time, so he looks like he's going to go for another run. Break FN now in the Williams crosses the line. Where does he go? He goes to P9 on a 45.8. So he's now inside the top 10. We've got one of the Ferraris to the line. That will be YHYY. He likes these wet conditions, but only P7 on the grid so far, a 45.3. You've got to say everyone from QVR Chill all the way down to Break FN really in 10th place. It's incredibly close, but that time from Jorno is so far out in front. Bree now goes onto the front row on a 44.9. So Bree's continuing form of pace improves, and now onto the front row. He got his best qualifying of the season, I believe, last time out in Japan, and now he's looking to try and improve on that. Old School crosses the line though, beats his teammate on a 44.6. A great lap from Old School, but still the man that we tipped for pole position, 9/10 behind Jorno, who's already into the pits. And to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see Jorno out again for the rest of the session.
Yeah, I think that might actually be enough to get pole position already, literally within the first 2 minutes of the session. And yeah, that's an incredible lap time from Jorno. 9/10 clear of Old School. Who as you said, we both thought he would get pole position around this track, and Jorno is definitely the man to beat.
I mean, we say that Jorno's the man to beat. Old School has just set a blistering first sector, 0.4 of a second up on his personal best. So we'll ride with Old School for the rest of this lap and see if he can continue to improve, whether he's got a lot of fuel in the car, and that's why he's a little bit slower at this point. Jorno's obviously gone out with far less fuel than everyone else and done that first lap as soon as the intermediate tyres were, as fresh as possible. We've got TDB coming across the line again. He now jumps up into second on a 44.2, so he found masses of time on his third lap in the session. That was about 1.3 seconds he found in one lap, so he's now within half a second of Jorno. So we might have to ease our words a little bit, and Jorno might have to go out now because a little bit more pressure is being applied to him. Old School continues to improve on his lap. He's nearly 6/10 up on his personal best, so he could dip into the 43s if he can continue with this pace through the rest of the lap. YHYY is coming up to the line once again in the Ferrari. He crosses the line, doesn't improve. One of the Red Bulls coming up to the line. That's Miami to start his first run in qualifying. Bree now crosses the line in fourth, but he doesn't improve. And Old School, I think, made a little bit of an error coming up towards turn 19. Looked a little bit wobbly. He now comes into the final corner. Where can he put that Renault? Can he put it on the front row? Can he put it on pole position? It's a 44 flat, so he nearly got into the 43s. Back onto second place on the grid, but still 0.3 of a second off Jorno. And just as we were saying, Jorno could have this one sewn up. It looks like the strategy of going out for 3 laps in a row has worked far better than going out for just the one run.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of drivers are getting used to the conditions, and Jorno got used to the conditions really quickly, but Old School and TDB are closing in rapidly on him, so he's definitely not safe for pole position just yet. But I imagine if he goes out again, or he's going out now actually, that he'll improve on his lap time, and he'll probably get used to the conditions even more. So, and I said an even better lap time, because that lap time is really good out of the gates, and, especially with like a drier line forming right now. I think he'll improve on his lap time by at least a couple of tenths, in my opinion.
Yeah, we know how the track improvement system kind of works throughout qualifying. Usually the track conditions tend to get better and better and better as the session goes on. So you would imagine that Jorno could find a lot of pace on that lap. We'll have to wait and see. Let's see how many people are going for 4 laps on the same set of tyres. I don't think anyone apart from Peter has gone for 4 laps. He crosses the line 8 seconds down, but he's massively he's put loads of fuel in that car. He's still got 2.5 litres of fuel left in that car when he crossed the line, so he's obviously fueled for a number of laps in that AlphaTauri. Currently 10th on the grid on a 45.4, as someone else has just improved. That was YHYY on his 4th lap on those tyres, goes up into 6th place on the grid, splits the 2 Racing Points who've just started their next run in qualifying. Chill's the first of the Racing Points, and he's already 0.3 of a second up in the first sector, so it looks like the track is continuing to improve. One of the AlphaTauris spun in the middle part of the lap. I think that might be Caesar that spun, or is it Peter that's actually spun the car? Actually, I think it might have been, yeah, it was Peter that had spun the car in the middle part of the lap, so he's going to dive into the pit lane at the end of this one, you would imagine. Where can Chill put that Racing Point then? He's 0.3 up in the first sector, like we said. What about the rest of his lap? Is he finding more time throughout of it? The rain seems to be dying off ever so slightly, so I'm wondering whether we're going to get closer and closer to dry conditions as the session goes on. Chill through the second sector now, 0.7 of a second up, so there's a lot of track improvement here. People are going to have to go out and continue to improve their times. Chill then 7th on the grid. He's not had a good run of form so far in D3. You've got to say that he looked at his fastest in Suzuka last time out, but didn't have the best of runs. A bit of contact with the Red Bulls, like we mentioned earlier, really cost him in the end. He now comes into the penultimate corner, really sideways out of that long right-hander, just like we saw Old School doing. He hops over the curb on the inside of 19, and now into 20, the slow hairpin. Make sure you get a good run out of the corner, don't run in too deep. Chill comes out of the final corner. Where can he put the Racing Point? It's 3rd on the grid. Found nearly 0.9 of a second on that run and did a 44.2, and now here comes his teammate J. Cole around the final corner. He's even faster on this lap, crosses the line. Didn't improve in his final sector though. A 44.3 for J. Cole, only 5th on the grid. So there is still a lot of time in the track, and there's a lot of time to be found, but the Racing Points just can't seem to get close to Yorno at the moment.
Yeah, and Yorno just invalidated his lap, so he won't be improving on this lap. He'll probably go again next lap, but yeah, both Racing Points improving on the lap. That's really good, and it's really close at the front now as we've seen the times go down. Top 5 separated between 6/10, and then it's 6/10 from P5 to P6. So that is a huge gap from top 5 to P6. So it's going to be interesting to see who can improve on these next few runs.
Yeah, we're just running on board with Caesar at the moment. He's on a lap in qualifying. Once again, Caesar going out a little bit later in the session, but you can just see riding on board with some people that they are not confident in these wet conditions. Caesar, a lot of understeer. Major Falcon, we were on board with him at turn 1. He missed the apex by a country mile. He's got no turn in that Red Bull. So a lot of people may be set up for the dry conditions in the race, and it's really affecting their performance in qualifying at the moment. Caesar now down the back straight. See where he can put his car. He got his first pole position of the season last time out in Japan. Unfortunately, didn't go on to take the race victory, but he showed a lot of pace last time out. So can he continue that form into this event? We've got more people on laps at the moment. B Morgan's on an out lap. He's coming up to start his run. Break FN, I believe, was on an invalidated run, and he's dived into the pit lane at the last moment, so he's going to put a fresh set of intermediate tyres on. And remember, we've only got 4 sets of intermediates per car, so they could run out very quickly, and they don't want to run out and burn them out too much in case we do have a wet race. Caesar, meanwhile, in the middle sector, 1 minute 9.3 by the end of the second sector, is about half a second down on what J. Cole and Chill were doing at that point in the lap. So this could put him near the front as J. Cole improves on his second run. So he had more fuel in his car than his teammate did, and on his second run, he's done a 43.7 and gone on to provisional pole position by only 0.03 of a second. So it was 1.3 seconds between our championship rivals a couple minutes ago. Now it is absolutely nothing, and Caesar goes into P6 meanwhile in the AlphaTauri in a 44.6, but from nowhere, J. Cole's now improved and taken pole position.
Yeah, and Yorno has invalidated his lap again, so he won't improve this lap. So pressure's really on for Yorno now. With his championship rival on provisional pole position, he needs to hook up his final run as he goes into the pits. But yeah, he needs to get a good lap in to get that pole position and hopefully extend his championship lead on J. Cole. And that's a really good lap from J. Cole. And I think Old School's about to start a lap as well. We should have an eye on him as well this session, because I think he'll improve as well if he gets a valid lap in.
Yeah, B Morgan, meanwhile, currently down in 10th. He's on another lap, but he's unlike everyone else. He's not finding a lot of pace at the moment. Someone else just to prove that was Jay Luke, who's back this week in the Ferrari, went to a 44.2, so that's a great lap from Jay Luke as well. He's really struggled in the races that he's taken part in this season. He just hasn't had the confidence that he had in pre-season. He was incredibly competitive in pre-season, but the actual season for him has gone horribly wrong. He's just not found the confidence. Looks like he's liking the wet conditions, so up to P6. B Morgan around the final corner. Where can he put that Haas? P9 only. So unlike everyone else, B Morgan just not really able to find any extra grip in the track.
Yeah, that's really surprising because we've seen a lot of drivers improve by 9 tenths, 8 tenths, 7 tenths, and yeah, B Morgan seems like that's almost his banker lap time from 10 minutes ago. So it's really surprising to see. And I think Miami just put in 44.3. He goes into P7 is closing up at the top 7 right now, and a lot of drivers are improving on their time. It's going to be very interesting to see these last 3 minutes of qualifying who can improve their lap time and get a good qualifying position. To be fair, the grid is between P8 and P1 is extremely close, but then from P8 to P16 it's extremely far apart, and if those drivers improve we could see an incredibly close qualifying.
Yeah, we really could if those guys can get that lap in, but at the moment they're really struggling to do so. Caesar, meanwhile, has improved to 4th on the grid on his second lap on those tyres, so he found some extra pace. Old School, meanwhile, continuing on his lap, but he's not found a lot of pace. He's only just under a 10th up on his personal best. Maybe he's fueled for a couple of runs, so we'll have to wait and see. It looks like he might be fueled for a couple runs on the same set of tyres. He comes through the final corner then. Does he improve on 3rd on the grid? Crosses the line, stays 3rd, but he's now into the 43, so 43.8, and he's going to go for another run. It looks like he could go for another 2 laps in this session. He's got time and fuel to do so, so keep an eye on Old School, see if he can find the same 6 tenths of a second improvement that J. Cole found on his second lap. J. Cole's not left the pit lane, so it looks like J. Cole's session is over and done with. He won't be improving on his time, so he's left it up to the gods to see who can improve on their times. Miami's on another lap in the Red Bull at the moment, see if he can improve on his time as well. We've got B Morgan coming around the final corner on his next lap on the same set of tyres. He crosses the line, doesn't improve on P10. He stays 10th on the grid, so he still can't find any more grip in these tyres. I believe TDB's comes up to the line. He does go up to the line, and wow, where's that come from? From TDB, a 43.6, struggled so much at the start of the session to get into the 44s, and he's found amazing speed on his lap and has jumped right to the front of the field. Great lap from TDB.
That is a crucial lap time for him to get that professional pole position, and I think a lot of drivers are starting their final runs in this race. I think White is up by quite a lot this lap, so we can see him jump massive amounts ahead from P11. I think this could be between Old School and Caesar, and he actually lost a lot of time in Sector 3, unfortunately, and it's only P9 for him. But yeah, it's so close in qualifying right now, and a lot of drivers are starting their final runs, and it's going to be incredibly exciting to see if drivers can improve. And I think Jorno's gone off. Yeah, Jorno's gone off in Sector 1, so he won't improve on his lap time, unfortunately. So that means he'll get his P3 as of right now. Needs to watch out for drivers behind, but extremely unfortunate for Jorno. He doesn't improve on his incredible banker lap time, unfortunately, in this session. But he's still P3 right now, and yeah, that's still a decent position. But it's going to be exciting to see if some drivers can improve and knock him further down the grid.
Yeah, we went from starting this session saying that that's the lap of the season in qualifying so far from Jorno to him now not being able to improve on that time. So Jorno, it seems, might have thrown away his chance of clinging onto pole position, and he will be behind J. Cole. Crucially, his championship rival J. Cole has out-qualified him. Looking down to the rest of the field then, who will be next across the line? B. Morgan will be next to finish a lap. He's only slightly up in the middle part of the lap when he crosses the line. Can he get back in the top 10? No, he can't. He found 4 tenths in the final sector, and it still wasn't enough to put him at the front of the field. TDB has crossed the line and has improved even further, a 43.2. That's a great lap on his 3rd lap on those tyres. TDB extends his advantage at the front to over half a second. Miami crosses the line, now goes P6 in the Red Bull. Good lap from him. We've now got the 2 Alpha Tauris coming up to the line. I believe Peter will be the first of the Alpha Tauris, currently down in 15th. He's been so good in qualifying all season long. Where can he put the Alpha Tauri? It's not going to challenge the front of the grid. He's only P12. He cannot improve any further than that. Caesar can't improve on P5 on the grid. Luke comes up to the line. He's only 14th, and I believe YHYY crossed the line, goes 7th in the Ferrari. Miami's already crossed the line, so that's Major Falcon who's coming around the final corner. He stays 15th on the grid. Breeze dived into the pit lane, so he's not going to be improving on his time. Break FN's on the lap, currently 16th on the grid, 2 tenths up in his personal best, but that's not going to get him anywhere, and it's all down to this final sector. Can he find any more time and get himself off the back row of the grid? He can. He goes to 13th, but it's not as high as he would have wanted. Harry Nawag now crosses the line, and he goes into P11, so that puts him down another place. Chill crosses the line, goes front row. Great lap from Chill. Goes to P2 on the grid. Brilliant lap from him. Old School will be the last person to complete a lap.
He's 4 tenths up.
Flying round the final corner. Can he get pole? Yes, he can. Dying seconds of the session. He was the last person to cross the line, and he does it. We got the prediction bang on. He gets pole position, but by only half a tenth of a second. He left it to the last moment. He crossed the line with only like 3 seconds to go before he started his final run. He left it to the last moment in qualifying, but when it mattered, he pulled it out of the bag, and Old School is back on pole position.
Incredible lap time from both Old School and TDB. That they're 5/10 clear of P3 from Chill behind for both racing points, and it's extremely close between those two. And Old School, as you said, in the dying seconds, the last driver to finish the lap, he claims pole position for this race.
Absolutely brilliant stuff then. Old School on pole ahead of TDB, second. Chill, best qualifying of the season by a country mile, third on the grid. Outqualifies his teammate, J. Cole. Yorno, fifth, ahead of Caesar, sixth. Miami, Whitewide, J. Luke, and Bree rounds off the top 10. Harry Nawag, B. Morgan, Peter, Breakifen, Luke, and Major Falcon are your qualifiers. The field spread quite big in the end, 2.1 seconds from 1st to 16th on the grid. Just goes to show how difficult it is to get that clean lap in the wet conditions. And some big names at the back of the field, noticeably B. Morgan, currently 4th in the standings, and Peter, who's been so good in qualifying. Both of them can't get into the top 10.
Yeah, that's really surprising, and unfortunately they did struggle in the wet, but it looks like we have a dry race, so hopefully they can bounce back during the race and get a good result. And it's going to be interesting to see what strategies everyone goes on, because I think the best strategy, because everyone's done an intermediate lap time in qualifying, they'll have a free tire choice for the race. So I think it would be a great option for a lot of drivers to go from the mediums to the softs this race.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. The soft tyres, like we said earlier on, they die off incredibly quickly in the opening phases of a race. So it would make more sense, really, to go for the mediums and go a little bit longer and have better sustained pace. We'll have to wait and see what people do. You would imagine maybe the people at the front of the grid, the likes of, obviously, Old School, TDB, maybe the 2 racing points will go for the soft compound tyres just because they don't want to lose places at the start. But I've got to say, look out for Yorno's choice here, because he's made so many great strategy calls in the past. You would imagine he'll make another good one as well here. And obviously everyone now gets a free tyre choice, so that option that people usually have outside the top 10 for going for something different, they no longer really have that advantage.
Yeah, and that's very unfortunate for them, but I think they did struggle in the wet conditions, and I think the field will be a lot closer in the dry conditions. So it's going to be incredibly exciting to see, and unfortunately B. Morgan has left the session, and I'll try and invite him back into the session, and hopefully he can join back and take control of his car. That's very unfortunate for him.
Yeah, fingers crossed B. Morgan can get back in his car, like you say. Let's have a look at tyre strategies then. Old School and TDB at the front of the field, I believe, both on softs. First medium runner is J. Cole, 4th on the grid, so he's gone for the mediums. Yorno's gone for the softs. Now, that's the complete opposite of what I thought Yorno would do. I thought Yorno would go for the mediums. If anyone was going to go for those tyres, I thought it would be him, but I reckon Yorno probably wants to get past J. Cole as quickly as possible. Caesar and Miami, 6th and 7th on the grid, have gone for the medium tyres. Whitewire, 8th on the grid, has gone for the softs. J. Luke's gone for the mediums, 9th on the grid. Bree, 10th on the grid, gone for the softs. Harry Noag and B. Morgan on the mediums in 11th and 12th. Peter and Breaker Fenn have gone for the softs, 13th and 14th on the grid. And then Luke and Major Falcon, 15th and 16th, have gone for the mediums. So a real spread of tyres throughout the field. And you've got to say the ones to look out for early on have got to be J. Cole and Caesar.
Yeah, definitely. If they can keep their position and keep with the soft runners at the start, that they'll be in a great position to come the end of the race. And those medium tires, they are extremely consistent, and it's going to be exciting to see if they can keep up with the soft runners, because they will probably lose out in the first 3 or 4 laps in this race. So yeah, if they can stick within that DRS, stick within a 1 second range, they'll be in an incredible position near the end of the race.
Yeah, and there you go. There's a predicted strategy on the screen there for you. A soft-medium strategy now made a lot easier with the fact that no one has done any laps on these tyres in qualifying, so they can go that bit further and make that one-stop strategy from the soft to mediums work quite easily. Other than that, you could do a soft tyre strategy around this track, couldn't you? But the problem with that is the hard tyres around this track are a little bit all over the place.
Yeah, I think they're 1 second slower, if I'm not mistaken. I think they're 1 second slower than the medium tyres. So and yeah, the medium tires basically lost the entire race. I think the last 2 laps you might struggle a little bit for grip, but yeah, I think the advantage of the mediums is way better in this race. So I expect to see a lot of drivers go for the soft medium strategy.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see how this one pans out. You'd only really go for the hards unless you get contact at the start of the race. Obviously, look out for time penalties as well at this track. The track limits around here are brutal, and you will see a lot of people pick up penalties as the race goes on, so that could play a crucial part in this one. But Major Falcon and Luke line up at the back of the field. I think, unfortunately, B. Morgan hasn't been able to get back in the car. I haven't seen him rejoin the session, but here we go then. Who's going to get the best start at the front of the field? Is it Old School? Is it TDB? The lights are out and away they go. They get off the line fairly quickly. It's a fairly even start at the front of the field. Yorno's made a great start from 5th on the grid, trying to go down the inside of Chill into turn 1. One of the Ferraris has a massive dive down into turn 1. That's YHYY, and Peter's got caught up in that as well. So Peter, the innocent party, or was that Caesar, the innocent party, that spun towards the back of the field? I didn't quite see, but Old School leads them through the S section. TDB closely follows them. Chill 3rd. Yorno's done exactly what he needed to do and got ahead of J. Cole into turn 1. So he's up into 4th. J. Cole down to 5th place, and then it's the Ferraris. YHYY 6th and J. Luke 7th. Peter's up into 8th on the grid. He's had a great start from 13th. Miami's dropped to 9th, and Luke from the back of the grid, 15th, is up to 10th. It was Caesar, the one that fell to the back of the field. B. Morgan has rejoined the lobby, so he should be able to take control of his car as Luke now goes side by side with J. Luke into turn 11. They get a little bit close on the exit of the corner, but I think they're going to run back in line as they go down. No, Luke is really trying this move down the inside of J. Luke down towards turn 12. They nearly hit wheels again down the straight as Luke has the inside line. Breaks fairly early though compared to J. Luke into the corner. Luke gets up the inside though, and I think he's going to get that move done. He's forced his fellow Ferrari driver onto the curb on the outside. J. Luke though back down the inside. That's the real nature of this part of the track. You can run side by side for a lot, but this time round Luke is going to get that move done. Meanwhile, Peter continues his charge. He's already up to 6. What a start from Peter, 13th to 6th. I think that's one of the best starts we've seen all season.
Yeah, and Luke as well, 6 positions off the line, and that is incredible for the first lap. And I think YHYY has picked up damage, so he's going into the pits now in this race. Really early pit stop for him, so he's going to go on to the hard tires, unfortunately, and hopefully make it to the end of the race. But yeah, great start from TDB and Old School there. Really clear ahead, and QVR Chill is following them as well, and it's extremely close between those between all the drivers, and I think everyone's in the DRS train at the moment. Or not in the DRS train, I think everyone's within a second of each other, so that's really important, especially for the medium runs in J. Cole. If he can stick with it with the soft runners ahead, then he'll be in a incredible position at the end of the race on those fresh soft tires.
Yeah, he's doing a good job at holding on to 5th at the moment, but Peter's continuing his charge. He's right all over the back of the racing points, so you would imagine that Peter could probably get that move done pretty early on. He gets a great run through 11. Look at the traction that Peter's got. He's so much more confident at the moment. J. Cole is starting to lose touch with Yorno ever so slightly, but J. Cole uses a lot of VRS down that back straight to get back ahead of Peter and not be under pressure. As we now go into turn 12, he's going to be clear of the AlphaTauri by the time they get to the braking zone, so he holds 5th for the time being. Miami, meanwhile, still doing a good job in 7th on the road on those medium tyres. Luke, like we said, an incredible start from Luke 05 from the back row of the grid up to 8th. Break FN's now going for a move on Harry Nawag. I think Break FN's going to get that move done, but Harry Nawag down the inside for turn 16. Very late on the brakes, nearly runs into the back of J. Luke in the process. Break FM will now have the inside line for this triple right-hander, and he's through down the inside. Harry Nawag doesn't have the grip to hold it around the outside. Break FN gets the move done, so he's into the top 10. So a lot of people working their way forwards, but we've already got our first time penalty. Peter, after an incredible start, only lap 2 he's got to before picking up that first penalty.
Yeah, that's a really early time penalty that's going to hinder him a lot at the end of the race, unfortunately. But he is close to the back of J. Cole, and I think he'll probably get the move done this lap if he can. And it's going to be crucial for him to get ahead of J. Cole and hopefully create a gap to him. So he has a little bit of a buffer to the cars behind.
Yeah, Caesar meanwhile working his way back forwards after that horrible start to the race. He's back up into 11th place. He's got Harry Nawag all over the back of him, but Harry Nawag's now picked up a time penalty as well as YHYY's into the pit lane again. So his race has gone...
The pit lane as well.
Oh, what a shame for YHYY. He is out of the race then, so he won't be scoring any points. Our first retiree of the evening is YHYY in the Ferrari. Harry Nawag now under pressure from Breeze. So Harry Nawag, after a decent enough qualifying, really struggling in the dry conditions, he's just kind of falling through the field at the moment. He'll be under pressure very, very shortly from Bree, Major Falcon and B. Morgan, as Peter is going to get that move done down the inside of turn 12 before the braking zone. Peter's up into 5th place on the road. J. Cole's down a place, and now this is crucial for the rest of J. Cole's race. Can he keep with Peter, or will Peter hold him up and put him into the clutches of Miami? This could really be the crucial point in J. Cole's race.
Yeah, he really needs to not. Yeah, he just needs to not lose time to the soft runners ahead, because his battle is basically with Yorno for the championship. So he really wants to be as close as Yorno as possible on these medium tires, so he can have that advantage. As I said 20 million times already this race on those soft tires. His race code will come back at the end later on in the race, where he has those tires and get the advantage. And TDB is extremely close to the back of Old School down into turn 1. Doesn't quite go for the move, but Yorno and Chill are struggling to keep up with TDB and Old School ahead.
Yeah, you've got to say at this point in the race, TDB looks the far faster driver here. As Old School, you can tell in the S section, really struggling with understeer. It looks like he's already burning out those soft tyres, and TDB a lot more ERS in his back pocket and looking a lot more confident. You would say he could probably get this move done fairly easy if we've got a yellow flag, and that's Break FN. Break FN has spun in the S section. He hasn't picked up any damage, so I don't know if he just spun that completely on his own or whether he got contact with someone, I don't know. But Break FN, after a poor qualifying, he was looking forward to this race, and it's kind of fallen apart for the Williams man, so let's see if he can work his way back forwards into this race and back onto the back of B Morgan. Meanwhile, battle for the lead. TDB's already passed. He didn't need to wait until the braking zone for the next corner. TDB just breezed past in a straight line, and Old School now down into second place and into the clutches of Chill.
Yeah, of course, TDB using that ERS advantage and getting past Old School quite easily, and he's now into the lead of the race, and it's going to be interesting to see if he can pull a gap to Old School. I know it's quite hard around this track and to pull a gap, but if it's possible with that ERS advantage, he can definitely try and get him out of that DRS, and if he does so, then he's in an incredible position to win this race.
Yeah, and you can just see there, Old School through turn 19, understeering wide. He was just got so much understeer in that car, really struggling in the dirty air. Old School's already out of DRS range. He got DRS in the detection point before turn 19, but he's already dropped to over a second behind. Chill's going to go for a move here at turn 1, down the inside. Old School kind of moves over on Chill a little bit in the braking zone, but they get away with it, and Chill sends it late on the brakes down the inside of the Renault man, and now Old School 2 places in a lap. He's from first down to third, and Chill works his way up into second place. Yorno will be the next man to try and have a go at Old School, but you've got to say that Yorno as well seems to be struggling at the moment. Unless he's purposely backing off and not pushing these tyres, he doesn't have the same pace really as TDB or Chill in this one, which is why I'm still a little bit surprised that Yorno went for the soft compound tyres. I would have expected him to go for something different, being the championship position that he has. But yeah, he's the next person to have a go at Old School. Old School might have a run back at Chill though, down the back straight. He's still within DRS range, but you would imagine that the superior grip that Chill's got, Old School won't be able to fight it, and he's 6.5 tenths back. It looks like Chill's going to hold on to second place for the time being. Peter still runs in 5th place as Break FN picks up a time penalty now for corner cutting. Peter still holds 5th. He's broken DRS to J. Cole, and J. Cole now is actually being slightly caught by Miami. So at this point in the race, Miami looks like maybe the stronger medium runner.
Yeah, and it's really surprising. And Caesar is fighting back a lot this race after a poor start, and he's now made a move on J. Cole. He's now in P9, and he's 4th on the medium tire, so he's made a slight comeback this race already, so he'll be one to look out for if he can maybe challenge the other medium runners and go up in a few positions, because I think he was P12 at the end of lap 1, if I'm not mistaken, and he's already now up into P9, so he looks extremely fast on those medium tires as well.
Yeah, loving life at the moment is Caesar. 1.8 seconds is the gap between him and Luco5, who's the next person on the track for him. And you've got to say, so far in this race, we're only 6 laps in, but this is going to be Luke's best performance of the season so far as well. Looking fairly confident on those medium tyres. Started 15th on the grid, now runs 8th in this race. And all those places were made on track. The only place he gained by someone pitting was YYY. So Luke's had a great start to this race. Further up the field then, J. Cole now starting to get back within DRS range of Peter, so it looks like we're getting to that crossover point where the medium tyres start to become the better tyre, and now Old School with a time penalty. And that's the problem with the soft tyres, is that you start to understeer, you start to overheat, especially that front left tyre. As it overheats, you pick up understeer, and you can just understeer clean off the track and pick up a time penalty, and that's exactly what Old School's done.
Yeah, that's really, really unfortunate for him, and he's unfortunately also lost DRS to the back of QVR Chill, and now that allowed Yorno, I think, yeah, Yorno does have DRS to the back of Old School. He's outside the 1 second range right now, but at the detection point, he was within 1 second, and he's got that DRS. So maybe if Yorno can keep with Old School and maybe close in a little bit, he is in the battle for the lead as well.
Yeah, you can never write Yorno out. We said it at the start of the stream, you cannot write Yorno out of any race. Meanwhile, massive battles going on for 10th place as Bree sends it down the inside of J-Luke. J-Luke, after a good start, struggling on these mediums to kind of find the same pace as the people in front of him. Bree on the soft tyres, ever the man he's so easy on his tyres is Bree. He's able to keep his tyres in check for so long. He's now up into 10th place, so he's working his way forwards again after a bit of a poor start for himself. He started 10th, dropped near to the back of the field after the start, but he's making these soft tyres work. He seems to be, at the moment, the only person on the soft tyres that's really working their way forwards. Everyone else struggling a bit, and now we've got a battle for the lead. Chill's caught TDB, and Chill now looks the faster of the soft runners, and this, we said it last week that Chill's got a lot of speed at Suzuka. All of a sudden, Chill's now battling for the lead here in the US of A.
Yeah, that's incredible to see. I think he has a lot of pace on these soft tyres. You see the confidence he has through the S section, and he's gaining a little bit of time even on TDB, even with the dirty air ahead. So Chikuvi Chill is looking extremely fast on the soft tires. He's finding grip where other drivers can't, and especially Old School, he's losing a lot of time to the back of the top two. And Jorno's now well inside of 1 second range, and he might even go for a move down into turn 12.
Yeah, let's wait and see what Jorno does coming out of turn 11. He got a great run compared to Old School. And once again, Jorno has a good reserve of VRS compared to Old School, who doesn't really have a lot to defend with. So you would imagine Jorno's going to get this move done pretty easily. Old School sticks to the race in 9. Jorno to the inside in the McLaren, down the inside of the Renault. They nearly come into contact. Old School turns in, trying to get Jorno to turn into the corner. And Old School ran out a little bit wide onto the curb, but Old School sends it back down the inside fairly late on the brakes. Jorno gives him the space to do so, but Jorno with a superior grip just drives clean around the outside of the Renault man. Old School, though, with a really late dive down turn 16, that was really late on the brakes, forces Jorno off the road. Fair enough from Old School to get down the inside, but you've got to say that was a little bit aggressive.
Yeah, that definitely was a little bit of aggressive, and I think Jorno will not be happy with that. He has lost a lot of time to the top two now, and he's still behind Old School, so he won't be happy. He might even go for a move down into turn 1. He has the ERS, he has the DRS, and Old School has poor exit of the final corner, and now Jorno with the DRS and slipstream, he's going to go down the inside of turn 1. Old School moves over a little bit, and oh my god, they come into contact. Jorno went a little bit to the right. I think that was because of the last incident, last little bit of contact they had, and Jorno wasn't happy with that and gave a little bit of an elbow to Old School, unfortunately. But yeah, Jorno's now ahead, and Old School struggling on these soft tires.
Yeah, we saw this really in Singapore as well, where Old School started to struggle a little bit on his tyres. He got just a bit frustrated and started over-defending some moves, and it seems like he maybe made a little bit of the same mistake here as well. Jorno is now through, but like you say, look at the gap between Jorno and Chill now. They were a second apart a few laps ago. It's now nearly 4 seconds, so TDB and Chill doing exactly what TDB and Jorno did last time out and just disappearing at the front of the field. Chill was right close to the back of TDB, now is struggling a little bit to keep right as close as he was, so I'm wondering whether Chill's overheating his tyres a little bit in the dirty air. Old School using a lot of ERS, trying to come back at Jorno down towards turn 12. He's not going to be very late on the brakes, but he's not close enough to make that stick as Caesar up yet another place. Breezes past Miami down towards, no, past Luke, sorry, down towards turn 12. It is up into 8th place, so he's continuing his charge through as J. Cole's now past Peter, so it's definitely the time where the medium tyres are starting to come into their own. J. Cole's back up into 5th place. Caesar's on the move as well, so now is the time really for the soft runners to start to consider coming into the pit lane.
Yeah, definitely, and I think it could be a good option for Chill to maybe come into pits as he doesn't go into the pits to try that undercut on TDB. I think lap 9 will be a perfect lap to try and attempt the undercut, and Jorno picks up a time penalty. That's very unfortunate for him. And Peter is into the pits as the first soft runner. He's going to try and get the undercut on Old School maybe. Yeah,
Old School and Jorno, you've got to say, both struggling on the soft compound tyres, so Peter maybe trying to get the undercut, like you say, on the pair of them. Wasn't that far back after that little battle between Jorno and Old School. Puts the medium compound tyres on just Peter. He'll come out in a lot of clean air at the back of the field. Major Falcon and Harry Nawag having a good old battle at the moment for 12th on the road, but they're both struggling on their medium compound tyres. They don't have the same pace as people in front. Meanwhile, B. Morgan, update on his race, obviously left the session before the race got underway. He's worked his way back into the top 10, so he's working his way forwards methodically. And Luke at the moment as well, you've got to say, great start to the race, but now everyone behind him that he passed at the start is starting to close back in. So after a great start to this race, Luke is starting to fall back into the clutches of the people he was slower than in qualifying.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate for him, but he can still get a good position, because I think he's P4 he's P4 on the medium tires, and those medium tires are faster than soft tires, so he might his race will definitely come back at the end of the race when he puts on those soft tires, and probably will mount his charge on all the medium runners at the end of the race.
And still Brie on those soft compound tyres, 9th on the road at the moment. Like we said earlier on, it's so good at being able to hold the tyres in and keep them in check and be kind to his tyres. He's looking still pretty fast on these softs, while the people at the front of the field start to lose pace. He seems to be gaining pace on the medium runners in front of him. Do any of the leaders pit meanwhile? I don't think any of them did. No, Jorno and Old School both in on the same lap. So Old School, by not pitting the lap before, wasn't able to undercut Jorno maybe. Both into the pit lane at the same time. So where does Peter come out relative to these guys? That's going to be the question. Has Peter gained on these guys enough to put them under pressure? Old School into his pit box. Jorno's in his pit box as well. Jorno, you will imagine,
Jorno's getting a front wing change.
Oh wow!
Jorno's getting a front wing. I think he might have picked up a little bit of damage with that incident with Old School.
And soft compound tyres for Jorno. Wow.
As well.
That's a two-stop strategy. Wow, so I don't know if he meant to do that or not, but a two-stop strategy for Yorno. Broken front wing, obviously with contact with Old School earlier on. Yorno's race is falling apart. Why on earth he went for the soft tyres, like I said, I don't know. But it's really cost him now. He's well off the back of these guys. He'll be behind J. Cole, Miami and Caesar when they pit off the mediums, you would imagine. And meanwhile, Peter's all over the back of Old School. So Peter gained a net about 2.5 seconds on Old School in a lap alone. And now Peter's right in the thick of this battle for third place.
Yeah, and this is going to be really interesting to see, because I think Chill and TDB had a 4-second gap to Old School, but if they wait 1 or 2 laps too long, Old School and Peter might still be in contention to overtake them in the pit lane.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see how this one pans out. Meanwhile, in front, Major Falcon has worked his way past Harry Nawag. Major Falcon now trying to close in on Jay Luke in front. Harry Nawag really struggling at the moment on his medium compound tyres, just doesn't quite have the pace of the people around him. Do the leaders come into the pit? And then TDB still continues to lead this race. TDB thought he was going to stay out, but he darted in at the last moment. I think maybe trying to trick Chill into staying out. But they both come in at the same time. So end of lap 10, start of lap 11. Our two race leaders are into the pit lane. So J. Cole will now take over the lead of the race on the medium tyres. How far can he go into this race? And when he puts the soft tyres on, how fast will he be onto the medium tyres? Then do TDB and Chill both go onto the medium tyres? Where do they come out then relative to Old School? TDB, as expected, will be ahead of Chill in the pit lane. Comes out of the pit lane, will be clear of these guys, and I think they'll be clear of Major Falcon as well as they come up into turn 1. Major Falcon has the outside line on Chill but isn't able to pass them, so they are clear enough of Old School. They've got 2 cars. Chill's got 2 cars between himself and Old School as well, so this has worked out beautifully for our 2 net race leaders.
Yeah, that really has worked, and Chill is outside of the DRS range of TDB, unfortunately, but we'll see if he can close up a little bit to the back of him, and it's crucial for Chill to be ahead of Major Falcon, because Major Falcon has lost a lot of time to the back of him already. So it's going to be, yeah, it was really crucial for Chill to stay ahead of Major Falcon, not lose a lot of time to TDB ahead.
Yeah, really, really crucial, like you say. And now TDB is right within DRS range to Jay Luke. So is he going to get the move done as early as possible? Yes, he is. He's going to breeze past him in a straight line. Jay Luke's got absolutely no straight line speed at all, it seems like, and TDB just breezes past him. So that's now a car between TDB and Jay Luke. So this is crucial for TDB's race. Can he gap Chill enough so that Chill can't close back in on him by the end of the race? We've seen in previous races that TDB is an exceptional driver on the second half of the race. He really loves the fresher tyres at the end. He's really good at managing that. So he's now 6th on the road, and look at the gap he's already put on Chill. It's already 2.3 seconds, so TDB on the medium's already looking faster.
Yeah, and he's driving extremely well, and he doesn't have the penalty as well at this point in the race, so he's driving an insanely good race, and he's looking like he is the favourite to win this race at the moment, with Chill still being behind J-Luke, and only just he didn't pick up the DRS for this race, so he's even going to lose a little bit more time now, because I think his next opportunity will be the main straight, of course, and in the first sector he will lose time being behind J-Luke, unfortunately.
Yeah, meanwhile, Old School and Peter now both work their way past Harry Noir, but Peter's lost DRS to Old School and all that, but you would imagine he'll probably gain it back because Old School's now stuck in the dirty air of Major Falcon through the middle part of the lap. Old School's also picked up his 2nd time penalty of the race, so keep an eye out for those. Yorno's starting to close on these guys as well, but remember, Yorno has put the soft compound tyres on, so he's got to pit again in this race. Softs won't make it to the end, and B, he hasn't used 2 compounds of tyres, so Yorno on a 2-stop strategy. This is it's working out horribly at the moment for our championship leader, while his championship rival continues to lead this race. Meanwhile, B. Morgan having a go maybe at Luke down towards turn 12. Luke is trying to defend to the inside line. B. Morgan is going to be late on the brakes around the outside. Luke defends the inside line though, is going to hold on to it for the time being, but B. Morgan looking much faster on these medium tyres, trying to go around the outside as Chills worked his way past J. Luke, but not before he's lost even more time to TDB. And as B. Morgan... Oh, and he's hit by TDB!
Oh,
my
no.
word, that is so unlucky for TDB, who picks up a time penalty as well. B. Morgan spins in front of our net race leader, and once again TDB in a great position is taken out of contention through no fault of his own, and the man that looks so comfortable possibly could have won this race, could have been his 2nd or 3rd race victory of the season, into the pit lane to change his front wing. That is such a shame for TDB.
And this is twice in 3 races that this has happened to him, where he got involved in someone else's incident, and it's just so unfortunate for him. That I think in Singapore he would have been on for a podium finish, and now he definitely was on for a race win, and this is just so disappointing for him. And he has the 5-second time, but he even has to wait 5 seconds for a wing change. This is so unfortunate for him, and I feel incredibly bad for him.
Yeah, I do as well. That is so unlucky for TDB. Fingers crossed for his race that he gets some sort of safety car towards the end. B Morgan, meanwhile, is also pitted and he's put the hard compound tyres on, so he can't take the medium tyres any further than 12 laps into the race before he had to change. So I'm wondering whether some of the other medium runners are going to start to hit the same problems as well. So that now means that our net race leader is QVR Chill. What a turn of events. Chill's struggled so much this season to find any sort of pace or consistency. Hasn't scored more than I think 6 points in a round this season. He's really struggled, like I said, for pace since he moved down to Division 2. This is his best opportunity in a long while to pick up a race victory, and he's got a hefty advantage over Old School, who still has more penalties than him. NSX Yorno, meanwhile, has worked his way past Peter and is now all over the back of Old School once again. So battle rages once again between Old School and Yorno. Who's going to come out on top this time? You've got to say Old School came out on top last time round, and Yorno nearly ran clean into the back of the Renault man there through 16, but gets away with it. Now you've got to say the battle for the win has got to be between the two racing points.
Yeah, definitely, and especially with J. Cole getting those fresh soft tyres. He'll probably put those tyres on in the next 4 or 5 laps, I believe. So he'll be incredibly quick on those tyres, and he'll make up a lot of positions. But yeah, this is just fallen up. This race is blown wide open now for both racing points, and I think QVR Chill is definitely the net race leader and favourite to win this race. So let's knock on wood and hope it doesn't happen to him, that someone spins ahead of him and he unfortunately hits him.
Yeah, if that does happen though, I haven't got a clue who's going to win this race after Chill, because Yorno is now ahead of Old School, but he's going to have to pit again. Old School has a lot of time penalties in this race, so does Peter as well, who currently runs 9th on the road, a net P4 in position, but that was without Yorno's second pit stop, so we'll have to wait and see how that one plays out. Meanwhile, we'll catch up with the medium runners at the front. Chill's now on the back of Luke, so Chill going to try and get the move done on the Mercedes man. You would imagine he'll get that done fairly easily. Down the back straight, down the inside, he'll be well past Luke by the time we get to the end of the straight. Luke has nothing to defend with, and he lets the Racing Point man through. So Chill's up into 4th on the road. J. Cole continues to lead this race. It's 3 seconds back to Miami. They're both running at fairly similar pace. Cizo, you've got to say, is a little bit faster than Miami, but not that much, and has a time penalty. So all 3 of these drivers very evenly matched at this point in the race. So come the end of the race, wherever J. Cole comes out, you've got to say that Miami and Cizo will be right in the thick of the battle as well.
Yeah, definitely, and Caesar's been incredibly quick on those medium tyres, and I think with him having that poor start, only being 4.2 seconds behind J. Cole is incredible. So we'll definitely have to have an eye on him when he puts those soft tyres on, and see if he can make overtakes on these medium runners.
Yeah, we'll wait and see what he can do. He's nearly within DRS to enter Miami, so he's continuing his charge forwards. 5.2 seconds back to Chill, who runs 4th, who now has quite a big advantage. 3.2 seconds over Yorno currently, and over is quite a big margin back to Old School. Old School has actually fallen behind J-Luke in that pass lap, I believe. He had already previously passed J-Luke, if I remember correctly. Oh no, actually he hadn't, sorry. It was Harry Nawag I was talking about earlier on. No, he's now caught the back of J-Luke. Yorno's already passed him, so Yorno continuing to march his way forwards on the soft compound tyres. Yellow flag in Sector 1. Harry Nawag. Yeah, so his race continues to fall apart. He really struggled on these tyres, and he spun coming out of turn 1 and hit the wall. He'll have to do a full lap with barely any front wing on his car, and he can barely get the car turned around. He's struggling so much for grip. TDB, fastest lap of the race, as you would expect, on a fresh set of medium tyres. Now runs 11th. He is in the points, but 13.5 seconds behind Bree. You've got to say for TDB, unless he gets a safety car, a top 10 is looking fairly unlikely.
Yeah, it's just incredibly unfortunate. Hats off to him for continuing this race, even after just such an unlucky circumstances again for him. And yeah, I feel terrible for him. And like, if that happened to anyone, that's happened twice to him in 3 races. So that is doubly painful for him, and especially when he was fighting for a podium in Singapore and now fighting for a win. It's just disappointing, heartbreaking.
Yeah, and it happened to him twice in Singapore alone, so you've got to really say 3 times in the last 3 races he's been involved in someone else's accident. Someone's had a crash in front of him, and he's just got caught up in the aftermath, which is such a shame. He looked so confident in this race. Yorno continues to march his way forwards. No, he doesn't actually, sorry. He's into the pit, so he only managed to do 4 laps, or 5 laps on these soft tyres, and he's in once again for a set of medium tyres. Where will he drop to in this race? That's going to be crucial for this one. Comes in and puts those medium tyres on. He will drop down behind Bree, but probably ahead of TDB, you would imagine, in this race. So he'll be 10th on the road, will Yorno. That is a long way to work his way forwards. He might close in to the back of maybe Bree, maybe Peter and J-Luke if he gets some sort of luck towards the end of this race. But that is a tall order for Yorno to really gain anything from this race now. Yeah,
definitely, and especially with a lot of drivers ahead of him. having time penalties similar to him, I think it will be difficult for him to get a good to get into the top 5. We've been saying at the start of the stream, where he finished 10 of the 14 races in the top 4, and it's going to be difficult for him to get that now.
They're going to be different to make it 11. Meanwhile, Caesar continuing his march forwards, is now ahead of Miami as Harry Nowak's unfortunately retired in the pit lane. Caesar's now up a place into second place on the road, so maybe Miami's starting to struggle on those medium tyres. You would imagine if he wants to pit for the softs, he'll have to go for another couple laps on these mediums if he wants to get to the softs to the end with any sort of pace left in them. But Caesar now works his way up into second place, only 3.6 seconds behind J. Cole. Can Caesar close in on J. Cole? That's the important thing now in this race, because it is not out of the question that Caesar could still win this race. He's looking very fast on these medium tyres. J. Cole, Caesar and Miami, though, all into the pits at the end of lap 16, so they've come in quite early for the soft compound tyres, you would say. Where do they come out in this race then? Chill's going to retake the lead of this race. Luke, I think, is staying out on his mediums. No, he's in as well. So all of our medium runners who haven't pitted yet are in. So Chill now takes the lead of the race, and he's got quite an advantage in this race, on track at least, over Old School, who now runs second place. And then it'll be Peter running third. J. Cole's going to come out in fourth, and with a lot of clean air in front of him. This is perfect for J. Cole. Chill might be out of reach, but second place has got to be definitely on the cards for J. Cole.
He has insanely good tyres right now, and definitely has the tyre advantage, and he came out P4, which is incredible. I think he gained a position, of course, on Yorno, but and TDB, and that's it. He gained 2 positions on TDB and Yorno because of this, and right now 2 seconds behind Peter, and let's check, he's 10 seconds away from lead. There's definitely a possibility we'll see J. Cole possibly winning this race. If he doesn't pick up a time penalty, it will definitely make his life a little bit easier. Yeah,
Jill has the 1 penalty. Old School has 2, and I believe Peter has 3. So that's one thing to look out for. Can J. Cole keep it clean in this race? Same for Miami as well. You've got to say, he's right in the thick of the battle for the podium. He doesn't have a penalty either. Caesar in front of him on the road does have a penalty. They're all on the soft tyres, so they will all start to march their way forwards. First up in their sights will be Peter, and Peter's the one on the oldest set of medium tyres, so he'll be the one to struggle first. And he's already fallen to 3.5 seconds behind Old School. Was directly behind him after the pit stop phase, and is now over 3 seconds back from Old School. So Peter already struggling on these mediums. J. Cole's already within DRS range, so looking fast, already looking for that third place. Meanwhile, further down the field, Major Falcons come out of the pit lane on a set of soft tyres. He's ahead of B. Morgan, who's on the hards. Changing to the hard compound tyres has worked out horribly for B. Morgan. Now runs 14th, was running possibly in a net P10 after the pit stops. He's dropped so much time on those hard tyres, as has Break FN as well, who had to pit early on for a change of front wing. Picks up a time penalty there coming out of turn 16. But both Break FN and B. Morgan really struggling, and look at that, out of sight already. J. Cole's past Peter.
He is making a charge now to his teammate and Old School ahead. So J. Cole's definitely looking like a favourite to win this race. He has a lot of pace on these soft tyres, and if he gets fastest lap as well, he will get 26 points. And Yorno, I think probably the best he'll get, hopefully for him, is maybe P9 or P8, because those soft runners behind him will definitely be quicker than him. So it's going to be difficult for Yorno to hold those drivers behind, and he's going to lose a lot of points to J. Cole, who's looking like he's doing an incredible job of trying to win this race.
Yeah, and like you said earlier on, before the start of the race, starting on the mediums at the moment has seemed to be the best strategy. J. Cole, 4th on the grid, went for the medium compound tyres, and it's working out beautifully for our Racing Point man, who is going to, just as we were saying, Yorno, we said it in the past few weeks in a row now. We say 1 week, Yorno, it swung in his direction in the championship, and then it swings J. Cole's way, and then it swung Yorno's way massively last time out, and then this time round it's now swinging back to J. Cole. So we cannot predict at this point in the championship who's going to win this one, because they seem to have one good race, one bad race apiece to these two in the championship, and J. Cole's already within 2 seconds of Old School with a 32.9. What a lap from J. Cole, but beaten by Caesar on a 32.3. Caesar's flying, and he's already past his AlphaTauri teammate as well, and up into 4th. Caesar's flying, he's faster than J. Cole.
That is really interesting, but Caesar got a poor exit, and Peter might have a little look around the outside, but Caesar uses that overtake and stays ahead of Peter, crucially into Sector 1. And yeah, Caesar's looking incredibly fast. He might actually challenge J. Cole. I think the last time I mentioned him, he was 4.2 behind J. Cole, and now he's 3.4, so there's definitely a chance of Caesar getting this potential race win, and J. Cole is already looking at the back of Old School. I think he doesn't have DRS this straight, but he might have a look up the inside of turn 1 on the next lap.
You'll have to wait and see. Miami in the background now on the back of Peter as well, so he'll be the next person to move past the AlphaTauri man. Ever the man that has great qualifying pace. Peter seemingly has finished 6th or 7th in every race he's taken part in this season. He just seems to be cursed at that place, and once again down to 6th on the road. Meanwhile in the background, Jorno's working his way past Brie as well, so Jorno's up into 7th place on the road, gets ahead of the Renault man on the fresher set of medium tyres, up into 7th. Not out the question that Jorno could still catch Peter by the end of this one and take P6 on the road, but they are both being closed in on by Luke, who currently runs 9th, and Caesar's picked up his second penalty, so that opportunity for Caesar to win this race is going out of the door because of penalties. Jake on Miami still clean, so those two really setting themselves up well for the end of this race, as now Jake Cole's right on the back of Old School coming out of the final corner, and Old School got a terrible run out of turn 20. Jake Cole's immediately on the ERS, going to look to the inside line, and Old School decides not to defend against it. He knows that Jake Cole's the faster car. It is the faster car on the faster tyres. Jake Cole up into second place, and we now have for the first time this season a Racing Point 1-2.
That is incredible, and both drivers are driving an insanely good race, and QVR 5 seconds ahead of Old School, and it's going to be, I think, yeah, Jake Cole's probably going to win this race. If he doesn't overtake QVR on track, he'll probably get it on time penalties. So, yeah, it's an incredible race, but Caesar with those 2 time penalties, that's really going to hurt him at the end of the race, especially with Miami behind him, having doesn't have a time penalty. He's definitely going to drop a position to him, unfortunately. But yeah, it's just incredibly close at the front, and I'm not sure who's going to grab a podium this race, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't know who's going to take that third spot. At the moment, it does look like it's going to be a pretty easy Racing Point 1-2, and that might be one of the, if not the first full team like 1-2 lockout we've had this season. I don't think we've had that so far this season. We'll just have to wait and see how this one plays out. Caesar and Miami running at pretty much the same pace at the moment. Miami just tantalising outside of DRS range, as now Luke is past Brie and up into 7th place on the road, so he's now starting to throw himself into the mix as well, trying to get up to Jorno for P6 on the road. Let's see if Luke can pull that off, as TDB and Jay Luke are going side by side in this final part of the lap down towards 15 and 16. TDB will have the inside line, and you would imagine TDB is going to get that move done, and he does. So Jay Luke gets a great run out of the corner, has the outside line for turn 17, has the better tyres as well. Can Jay Luke hold it around the outside? That'd be a brilliant move if he can pull it off, and he has the inside line for turn 19. He gets the move done. Great move from Jay Luke, but TDB immediately down the inside for turn 20 has a look. Jay Luke gives him just enough space, and TDB might have the run off the corner, but runs into the side, as Jay Cole now picks up a time penalty, interestingly. So now it's thrown back in Chill's direction. Chill could still win this race, as now TDB is going to have another look into turn 1, but can't get it done. Great defensive move from Jay Luke to go all the way around the outside of turn 17 and 18 and get back into P9.
That's a really good move on those soft tyres, and now with TDB, he's 6 seconds behind Excel Brie, so it's going to be difficult for Jay Luke to close into the back of Brie. But Jay Cole getting that time penalty is really crucial in this race, so he might actually, if Miami and if Miami closes in 2 seconds, I think he will get ahead of Jay Cole, but that time penalty really is going to cost him, and I think Jay Cole is not gaining a lot of time on Chill. He's getting a fair amount of time, and probably enough to overtake in this race, but probably at the end of the soft stint, the mediums will probably still be faster.
Yeah, you've got to say that it will transition once again as the race goes on. Caesar and Miami are now within DRS range of Old School as well, so Miami working his way forwards, now looking pretty fast on these soft tyres. Maybe didn't push as hard in the opening stint on the softs to maybe make them go a little bit longer as the stint goes on, so we'll have to wait and see what he can do. The only person on the track at the moment without a penalty is Miami, so he's doing a very good job, and this could pay massively for his race at the end. Caesar now going to go for a move down the inside of Old School at turn 1. You would imagine Old School can't defend it once again. He's going to let Caesar go down the inside, and Caesar once again on the podium, but at the moment is going to lose that podium to Miami on penalties. Miami will be the next person to have a go at Old School, and for Miami's race, his chances of taking a first or second place finish in this race, you've got to say that Miami has got to pass Old School as quickly as possible. And look at the grip in the first part of the lap. You can already see Miami closing that gap down to the Renault in front. but Old School could get DRS off the back of Caesar here down the back straight, so that could help him. Meanwhile, TDB and J-Luke in the background are still going at it, and this time around TDB does get the move done into turn 1. He is ahead. J-Luke nearly comes back at him through the S section with the superior grip he has, but isn't able to find the gap, and they're both being closed in on Peter, who he pitted for a second time. We completely missed it. Peter came in for a second pit stop. He's down to 11th place on the road as there's still a battle going on in the background. B Morgan's pitted off those hard tyres onto a set of soft tyres to try and get back into the points, and now Miami as well up into P4 on the road ahead of Old School, works his way up into P4 on the road, so it's looking good at the moment for Chill at the front of the field. It's looking good for Miami as well.
Yeah, and Chill has picked up another time penalty. I think he has 6 seconds now. Yeah, he does. Oh. And J. Cole only has 3 seconds. So both Caesar and Chill have 6 seconds of time penalty, as well as Old School in 5th place. So there's still a lot of things can happen in this race in terms of time penalties at the end of the race.
Yeah, still a long way to go in this one. We've still got 5 laps to go in, well, 6 laps to go in this race as they cross the line. J. Cole then back into the race lead on penalties, and he's only 1.6 seconds now behind his teammate. So if they start battling, this could throw Miami right into the mix. So we'll have to wait and see. Caesar only 3.1, despite having to pass Old School in all of that kind of carnage bit in the middle, but that's kind of got stuck behind Old School for about a full lap. He's still closing in on J. Cole. So of all the soft runners, you've got to say Caesar's the fastest. So if Chill wants to fight for this victory and holds J. Cole up, it's still not out of the question that Caesar could still win this race.
Yeah, we could see a last lap battle for a podium between Chill and Caesar, because Caesar is catching J. Cole and J. Cole is catching Chill, so it's going to be incredibly close between those two drivers. And I think TDB and J-Luke unfortunately have come into contact into sector 1, and there's a safety car with 5 laps to go.
Oh my word, this is completely changed the face of this race. Then yeah, TDB and J-Luke were still going out for a battle and they've both crashed. Peter's been involved in it as well. He's broken his front wing massively, so I'm wondering whether TDB and J-Luke look like they might have gone side by side. They might have gone side by side through the S section and just made contact, and Peter got involved in the aftermath, and now Peter has a drive through for speeding under the safety car, so he's going to have to serve that as soon as we get going again, so it's not like he can recover any of that time he lost. This is crazy end to the race with only 5 laps to go when they cross the line. We now have a safety car, and this has put Miami in a great position. J. Cole will be in the net race lead ahead of his teammate, but Miami's right in the thick of this as well. So if Miami can keep it clean and not pick up a penalty, Miami could win this race.
And Miami goes into the pits.
Whoa!
No, why? Why would you go into the pits? Yeah, you don't have time penalty. You're on the soft tires. I don't get why you were in the net race lead in Miami. This is so unfortunate for him. I think he's thrown away a race win, to be honest.
I don't actually know. I think he's got quite lucky here because everyone on the track has come in behind him. The only person that everyone's come in. So actually, Miami got it. I was about to say the same thing. Why on earth has Miami pitted? But actually, it's worked out beautifully because now he has a fresh set of tyres because everyone behind him on the track also came in. So he's still going to be 4th. But now the problem for Miami is that Old School and Yorno and Luke all behind. While they do have penalties, they all have fresh soft tyres as well. So they're not out of the question of playing a part in this race either.
He's been extremely lucky, to be honest, with everyone pitting behind him because usually at the end of the race, everyone on the soft tires just stays out, and yeah, I think this is a decent strategy. I thought he threw it away for a second, but with everyone pitting behind him and him not losing track position, I think of course he's still in a great position to win this race.
Yeah,
I was really confused as to why he pitted, but it's justified now. But if he does pick up a time penalty, I mean, I'm actually going to check the amount of warnings Miami has, and he has 2 warnings, so that is incredibly interesting to end the race. Because if he picks up 1 more warning, he will get a time penalty, and he'll probably only gain a position on Chill and Caesar, and will not win the race on penalties, because J. Cole and him will have the same penalties. But yeah, this is a very crucial last 3 or 4 laps of the race, and Yorno picks up a time penalty behind the safety car, and it's not a 5-second time penalty, so it's going to be difficult for him to get that one removed, I think.
Yeah, that's a bizarre. I don't understand how people do pick up time penalties behind the safety car, because obviously you're not going at full speed, so I don't understand how you would be able to pick that up. So Yorno then with a time penalty, and that's cost him against Old School. He was 1 penalty ahead of Old School in this one. I think Yorno only had one penalty in this race, so he would have been able to jump ahead of Old School, maybe even Caesar by the end of this one, but now he doesn't have that advantage anymore, and he might actually get caught by Luke and Bree behind him on the road. And Luke still in this battle as well, was closing in on Yorno. He has put a fresh set of soft tyres on as well. Started this race, bear in mind, 15th. He's worked his way through half the field, now 7th. Has a great opportunity as well as of putting his part in this race. Not out of the question that I would say pretty much anyone at this point inside the top 10, apart from Peter, because he has a lot of penalties, anyone inside this top 10 could end up with a podium.
Yeah, definitely, and that time penalty under the safety car has really cost Yorno a lot, because I think if Major Falcon, Bree and Luke behind him don't pick up time penalty, he will probably lose 3 positions, and that is a lot in a championship battle. He'll, instead of picking up 8 points, I believe, he'll pick up only 4. So, that is really crucial for him to pick up that time penalty, and it's going to be interesting to see if he can make up a lot of positions on Old School ahead, and maybe even Caesar as well, who's on older soft tires.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Chill, though, what a shame this is for Chill. Chill could have gone on to win this race without that safety car, but he is now the only person on track on a set of medium tyres that are 13 laps old. The good thing for him is that J. Cole and Caesar, their tyres are at least somewhat old. They're 7 laps old, but they were still closing in on Chill. Chill from a great opportunity of taking home his first race victory and his first podium of the season. It'd actually be his first top 5 finish of the season, this would be. He's now under huge amounts of pressure, and it's now all about whether Chill can sustain that pressure and hold the lead of the race.
Yeah, definitely, and there's only going to be 3 laps of racing, so it's going to be crucial for him. I don't think we will get DRS, so making moves is going to be extremely difficult for those soft runners behind him. So it might actually be a great call for him to stay out on his medium tires and hopefully keep his track position and stay ahead.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I think we'll get 1 lap of DRS at the very last lap, so look out for that. That's going to be a spicy final lap. This race has really been blown wide open after the contact between J. Luke and TDB. A disastrous race for both Ferrari drivers. White out very early on. J. Luke really struggled for pace, then came into contact with TDB. TDB looked like the early favourite to win this race. It fell apart after contact for B. Morgan in front of him. He ended up being involved in someone else's accident, and that's why he is out of the race. Chill then leads the way. It's a racing point 1-2 at the moment, but it's probably not going to stay that way with how this race is looking. Chill then coming into turn 19. When will he go for the safety car restart? Will he go before or after turn 20? That's crucial for his race when he decides to go, and it looks like it's going to go now coming out of turn 19, and it actually looks like Yorno's the one that's had the best reaction to the safety car restart. But here we go then out of the final corner. Chill leads them across the line. J. Cole runs second, Caesar third, Miami looking very fast in fourth as well, trying to get a move done maybe up into turn 1. Yorno and Old School go battling once again down towards turn 1. Yorno will have the outside line on the Renault man, tries to force his way around the outside, tries to switch back maybe down towards turn 2, but doesn't have the grip. They're both on the same age of tyres. Miami looking very fast as well now as Caesar hounding the back of J. Cole into the S section, but there's not enough room to go for a move. Everyone stays in order. Yorno's nearly at the inside of Old School in the S section, but cannot get the move done. Yorno stays in 6th. Luke stays in 7th just behind him as well. Bit of a gap back to Bree in 8th place as Peter picks up yet another penalty in this race. That will drop him right to the back of the field as this race goes on. Miami, though, on those fresh soft compound tyres, looking very racy, looking very fast in 4th as Old School far too late on the brakes there, sends it down the inside, hits the side of, I believe, Caesar's car, and that puts Caesar a little bit sideways, and that's going to put Caesar under pressure from Miami down towards turn 12. In the background, Luke is looking to gain 2 places here. Old School and Yorno going side by side. Luke in the battle as well. Yorno's going to have this one, I think. Old School trying to go back round the outside, though, down into turn 12. It's not going to work.
Miami's
no, Miami, from a great opportunity of winning the race, has spun out of contention after maybe contact with Caesar, or maybe just spun purely on his own. I don't know. Could have been his first win of the season, and Miami has dropped it coming out of turn 12. What a shame for the Red Bull man who was looking so good in this race. That's put Yorno into 4th from absolutely nowhere in this race. Luke now runs 5th. Old School's down to 6th after that dive down at turn 11 didn't pay off. Chill leads this race. B. Morgan now with another time penalty. Whereas Miami come out, he's down in 12th, so he still will gain places on penalties at the end. We'll have to wait and see. We're on to lap 27 of this race. Chill continues to lead. J. Cole continues to run second, and now Yorno's the one on the move behind Caesar, looking to the outside line at turn 1 once again. Yorno very late on the brakes. Caesar's going to force him off the road. Caesar getting very harsh in his defence. Luke round the outside of turn 2. Is he going to have the inside line for turn 3? Not quite. He doesn't quite have the run. Caesar's getting very aggressive in his defence, and it's forcing other drivers off the road, and while he's doing that, it's allowing the 2 racing points to get away.
This is incredible. Last 3 laps of the race, and it's so close. And now Caesar has a poor exit out of the hill, and now Yorno is really close to the back of him, but unfortunately had to slow down a little bit to avoid getting wing damage. And now onto the straight we go, and Caesar locks up a little bit on the right front, and now Yorno might have a look up the inside with his fresher tires. He uses his overtake, has a lot of slipstream, gains a lot of time of Caesar, but I think Yorno might be a little bit far behind unless he dives up the inside, but he's going to stick behind for Caesar as of right now. Bree tries to go for a move, goes past his teammate Old School, and now up to P6. Incredible restart from him. And Peter now up the inside of Old School as well. Old School's dropping like fly.
Damage.
He has wing damage. He does have wing damage on the right front, unfortunately.
Yeah, so he's now dropped down to 8th Major. Falcon will be the next person to have a go at Old School as we now head on to the final lap of the race. Chill somehow was held onto the lead. I wonder whether J. Cole's just sticking behind his teammate and not attacking him, because we've seen how much time people lose when they attack other drivers. It's just not worked for them. So now Chill leads coming onto the final lap. Peter's into the pit lane. Was it again? Peter into service drive-through for speeding behind the safety car. So he's taken fully out of contention. That's put a big gap between Old School and his teammate now. So it's the top 6 separates. It's the top 6 right at the front of the field. Yorno trying another move. It sees around the outside of turn 2, trying to make it the inside line for 3, but he's still not close enough. He might run into the back of the AlphaTauri there, and Yorno picks up yet another penalty. So that's taken him fully out of contention. They're going to drop like flies in this race. It's not out of the question that Luke or Bree could end up on the podium here because of the penalties. Chill still leads. Everyone is held up behind Chill at this point in the race. J. Cole's going to win on penalties unless he gets one on this final lap. Chill will win on the road. Caesar's having a look at J. Cole. He's so late on the brakes into turn 11, but he can't get it up the inside of the Racing Point man. And once again, Yorno gets a great exit off of turn 11 down towards turn 12. Now, who's going to go for the move? J. Cole will have DRS and his teammate for the race lead. He's on the overtake. He's going to go for a move on Chill down towards turn 12. Chill decides not to defend the move. J. Cole's down the inside line. Chill runs a little bit wide to let his teammate through. J. Cole's into the race lead, and J. Cole will win this race, it seems. Chill on the final lap is going to lose this race. What a shame for Chill. He had such a good run, but unfortunately the safety car's undone it. Look at Caesar, so late on the brakes, forces Chill off the road. Chill's out wide, Caesar's up into second. That's going to put Yorno on the podium round the outside unless Chill can hold it. They make contact. Chill spins off the side of Yorno's car and out of contention on the final lap. It's all fallen apart for Chill as J. Cole's going to come round the final corner and win this race. Caesar far too late on the brakes to the final corner. Yorno dives up the inside at the final corner, but Caesar will get him on penalties. Luke ends up in second place. Bree will get third. Miami, after spinning, ends up fourth. My word, where has he come from? Caesar ends up 5th. Major Falcon ends up 6th, having run at the back of the field for the whole race. Yorno only 7th. That race blew up at the end, and that just goes to show at the end of that race, without that spin, Miami would have had that race hands down.
That was incredible, and it's so unfortunate for Miami to spin during the restart. And I think, yeah, he definitely would have had the win, because he was the only one who didn't have time penalties in this race, and he still, after spinning and being 2 or 3 seconds behind the pack, he still finished P4, which is incredible for him. And that definitely was a race win for Miami, and I feel very sorry for him, and also for TDB as well, who could have had a race win if nothing special happened. But J. Cole ends up winning this race crucially in this championship, and I didn't quite catch where Yorno finished, but this is a crucial race for J. Cole to catch up a lot of points on his title rival.
Yeah, really, really good race this one was for J. Cole. Then he ends up winning this race on the alternate strategy. Luke, from 15th on the grid, ends up 2nd. What a race from him. By far his best race of the season to date. Bree ends up on the podium once again. He's had a real good run of form recently, and that will continue to push him up the championship standings. Miami as well, 4th, only 2.2 seconds off of J. Cole in the end, having spun at the start of that safety car at the end of that race. What a shame to him. Caesar just getting very desperate to defend positions at the end, so I'm wondering whether he made contact with Miami as well, and that might be why Miami spun. I didn't see it was off camera, but Caesar made contact with Chill at the end, and that kind of really ruined Chill's race. Major Falcon 6th ahead of Yorno 7th, Old School 8th, Chill 9th. What a shame for him. Break FN rounds off the top 10. B. Morgan and Peter, your point scorers, they were the only finishers of the race as well. J. Luke, TDB, Harry Nawag and White Away all retired from that one, but 3 drivers, you've got to say, all had great opportunities of winning this race. TDB, Miami and Chill, and for 3 reasons that looked like they weren't their faults, they all lost the race victory.
It's so unfortunate that these things happen, and yeah, I mean, especially for Chill, I think he was leading the race before the straight, and then yeah, the dive from Caesar, I think quite, I don't, yeah, he got forced off the track, and it's just so unfortunate that he then ended up making contact with Yorno. Otherwise, I think he would have been on the podium maybe if that didn't happen. And it's just so unfortunate for him to finish in P9, unfortunately. And I think it's still a lot of things can happen with the stewards. Of course, we saw a couple of incidents this race, so we will have our eye on that next race, probably to see if some things will happen after the race.
Yeah, it's not over yet, and at least Chill, and especially Chill and TDB and people like that can take things away from this race that they had great pace throughout this one. That is by far the fastest Chill's been all season long, so hopefully you can continue that into next week's round, which will be Mexico. But that is where we're going to round off the stream today, guys. Thank you everyone for tuning in. What a crazy end to the race that was. Hopefully we get more crazy races like that to round off the season, and this championship battle was blown wide open once again after that race. But from myself and Dylan, it is thank you very much for joining us again, and we will see you this time next week at Mexico. Goodbye.